Yo, 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 what's going on, people? Your boy, man, Mike, coming at you guys with another Atlanta Falcons, um, another Atlanta Falcons. Uh, Excuse me. Yeah. All right. So your boy, man, Mike here, coming at you guys with another Atlanta Falcons Q&A. Just want to kind of get this in. A lot of Falcons fans are wondering whether the Atlanta Falcons are going to draft in the 2025 NFL draft that's going to be coming Thursday. You stay tuned. Be sure to check out on the live tab on not only Atlanta Falcons Nation but Mad Mike Sports. Hit that notification. All right, hit the notification on that live so you guys can be in touch and in tune to what we're doing. We're definitely going to have a three-channel panel for the most part. We're going to have quite a few people from the staff, AFN, Unholy Alliance staff. Like I said, you're going to get to see Jew Talk Sports, Matt Mike, six-man K-Style, Wandrell. We got Mr. White. You're going to see OG Truth. You're going to be able to see Big Will, everybody. Hell, you might even see the one and only Magnus if he ain't driving them damn trains, okay? But you're going to see everybody from the crew. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you will not, because sometimes YouTube be tripping, right? And they don't want to send out all the notifications. So be sure to hit the notification bell on this live show, the NFL draft live show. So please look, all right? Please look on the live tab, the Up Next tab here on Mad Mike Sports, and hit that notification bell so when we go live, the NFL draft, you will not miss it. Okay, so another thing, we got a couple of people in here right now, Xavier Littman and King Treyway. What's going on, pimp? So go ahead and throw some questions in there if y'all got some questions, even if it's from last night's WrestleMania. I'll definitely throw that in there also, get my takes on it. Like I said, these are going to be 20, 30-minute live Q&As. So, like I said, these are going to continue. I may just continue this all year. We got the live shows for Matt Mike in the Mornings coming during the season. So that will not change. We're going to continue to give 1 to 2 hours of just straight up talk throughout the season, the NFL season, not just Atlanta Falcons, but we're going to continue to do that. But like I said, man, I think there was a question. Do you think it's a real possibility that the Atlanta Falcons are going to go tackle? And we just got to be honest about it ourselves and where this organization is. You got a coach, all right? This dude is literally around my age. I think he's like 4 years older than I. And I'm talking about Raheem Morris. So this is a fairly young coach if you're looking at just where the NFL was, in the 90s and the 80s. They went with more experienced coaches. So if you look at Raheem and where he is in his career, what's going on? Dre, what's up, Carl? Noah, what's going on? Sonya. Yeah, Sonya made me want to sing, y'all. She made me want to leave the water with, start a new relationship with you. I'm just playing. But Sonya, she knows that my girl. But if you look at what Raheem is and that point in his career, he's still young. You look at a guy like Jeff Olbrich. Olbrich is another guy, fairly young for the most part. These are young coaches. So a lot of these guys are still trying to find their way. And as far as, how they want to build their team, this is, I wouldn't say the first opportunity that Raheem has gotten to kind of build a team and build a defense in his image. He's had an opportunity. Um, I wouldn't say it was a with Raheem. It really wasn't when he was the coach in Tampa. He had a time that he could kind of model and that defense. It didn't last long, but I wouldn't necessarily say here in the Atlanta Falcons that this is his first time. Now, if you look at what he's doing now, he has the opportunity to kind of model the offense and the defense, and that right there is a first for him. So I'm me personally, how I really truly feel about Raheem is pretty much dependent on this. If you just look at the history of Raheem, just nothing stands out. Okay? I don't care. Me personally, I don't care about a coach's ability to, like, this guy. He does connect with players, and I think that's an important skill trait to have as a coach, to be able to connect with his players. But I think that could go a little bit too far. And I think with Raheem Morris, in regards to the defense, and I hear, see, one of the things that when I hear players say, like, Raheem teaches me things that I've never heard before about the offense and defense and how everything is interconnected. Like, don't tell me that shit if you're not getting results. Like, that's not great coaching. That's guy's ability to speak well and to make players see certain things. That's just ability to speak. Okay? The ability to coach is to assess the situation at hand. Okay? For example, when in a game, it's for fourth quarter, it's the second quarter, excuse me, it's the second quarter going into halftime, and you have your defense. All right, they've been getting blitzed all game long. The offense has. They've been getting blitzed the first quarter, second quarter and a half. Again, going into halftime, and then Raheem has the ability to either switch things up shortly before halftime or coming out of halftime and completely changing the scheme. Well, Raheem is one of those guys, for me personally, and I've seen this not only this year, but I've seen this exactly with Dan Quinn and his defense. I've seen this, and I've read these articles, and you can check that out, one, on the community tab here, where you can go back and watch and read these things on Raheem Morris, where he's been accused of being soft. His defense is being accused, and like I said, this is in 2022, where he's been accused by the Rams fans and media that his defense was too soft. So, and that's just what I'm saying. Raheem Morris is one of those guys, when you just look at his ability to make the right calls and the right adjustments at the right time, he doesn't do that. Why? It's because he gives his players way too much freedom to pick out what they want to do. And head coaching has everything to do about experience and understanding, as an experienced guy, that sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes you got to be willing to be uncomfortable and make those decisions that's going to make your players uncomfortable at some times. And we've seen this time and time again. Last year with the Atlanta Falcons, one of the worst things that I've seen from Raheem Morris that just pissed me off personally is watching him against Denver. That was a big game against Denver. Okay? That was a huge game against Denver. And that was a time for the Atlanta Falcons to sit back and say, no, yeah, we have some injuries. Yeah, we have that. But you got to get aggressive. Like, if you're already down and you know you are short men and the players, like, why not get aggressive? This is what I don't understand with certain coaches. They would rather sit back and play in these long ass zones and have their defensive backs 5 to 10 yards off. And then you watching Denver just check the ball down, check the ball down, check the ball. That's all they did the entire game. Run screens and check the ball down, throw short passes. Raheem just sat there the entire game, the entire first, second, third quarter, and just watched them check the ball down without getting aggressive at all. See, this is laying down as a head coach. This is the lack of adjustments that we're talking about. And a guy like, again, one of the greatest coaches in the history of football, and Andy Reid, he didn't do that. Andy Reid decided, let's come out. We're going to run this game plan, and we're going to make the necessary adjustments. And these are the things when you look at Raheem Morris, if he gets this right this year, along with Jeff Ulbrich, this is going to make this Atlanta Falcons team that much better. The ability to make the necessary adjustments when it matters most. And this is where I look at Raheem Morris. He has to continue to get out of his own way. So, again, Noah, see, this is why you get called a stupid motherfucker. Age doesn't matter. Make the right calls. Morris has experience. What does experience have to do with common sense? See, this comment right here in itself just shows the lack of experience that you have. This is literally stupid. Let me tell you something. There's certain kids that are born geniuses. And these kids, at the age of 10, they're doing shit like trigonometry. But that was only special cases. But if you haven't learned your ABCs and you haven't learned your 1, 2, 3s, how the hell can I turn you into a head coach? How can I turn you into a leader? You can't. You can't even fucking read right now. So these are the things we're talking about with a Raheem Morris. And why? Why did I just say that? Because it matters. If you haven't learned every situation in football, how can I turn you into a head coach? That's a ticking time bomb. That's like hiring a GM that only knows quarterbacks. We need running backs. We need fullbacks. We need wide receivers. We need tight ends. We need offensive linemen. We need defensive linemen. We need linebackers. We need DBs. We need kickers. We need punters. We need all of that. But you're hiring a guy to come in because he's good at connecting with players. That's a ticking time bomb for an organization. Just to hire a guy because, hey, you were good with Matt Ryan. You were good with Roddy White. You were good with Julio Jones. But what about the other 40-something players that's on the roster? You hire a coach to come in only because he was good with certain people and in certain positions. This is exactly what happens with Dallas. Dallas Cowboys, for example. They keep bringing all these head coaches that's good at one particular thing, and that's building offense. This is why their defense sucks for 20-something years. They haven't been back to the Super Bowl because they keep bringing in all these offensive guys. So experience matters. Okay? Experience matters. You got to be able to be trusted in certain situations. And these are the things we're talking about with Raheem Morris. I can't trust him in the fourth quarter. You can't trust him to call a timeout. You can't trust him to be able to take the ball out of take the play sheet out of his defensive coordinator's hand, because his defensive coordinator just not getting it. You can't trust him to take the ball out of the quarterback's hand because he's throwing interceptions and he's not in a good rhythm. You can't trust him to say, all right, yeah, we're not having a good passing game, but bro, we got Tyler Algier and we got Bijan Robinson. Let's just rely on them for the whole game, and we're just gonna tell our quarterback to check the ball down. I can't rely on Raheem to do these types of things. So don't sit up here and tell me that age doesn't matter, because it fucking does. If you haven't learned certain traits, it fucking matters. And see, this is sucker dick ass shit right here that gets you cussed about the fuck out. Because if I was standing in front of you, I'd slap the shit out of you. I would love to see Mad Mike as a head coach. Mad Mike is not qualified to be a head coach. When you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm not qualified to be a head coach, but I know guys who are. The guy that I know is a head coach for Morehouse. The guy that I know, and who helped me on certain things and helped me to see and to get introduced to other people. They are offensive line. They outside linebackers head coach, outside linebackers coaches for the Baltimore Ravens and pass rush. The guys that I know that I've sat down and had these conversations with, these are real NFL players. Experience matters. This is why guys like Bill Belichick. This is why guys like Sean Payton. This is why guys like, you look at right now, Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin been the head coach for 20-something years. That dude, look, a good what? I think he just hit like 50-something years old. It matters. It matters. Got to be put in those positions. And a lot of these guys haven't been put in those positions. The Denver Broncos game was one of the worst games. Oh, the Seattle Seahawks, that was another game. The Minnesota Vikings game, I don't know what that was. That was an absolute atrocity. And the Carolina Panthers game, where it's just like I have no idea what the hell they was doing offensively, defensively. It was just an absolute mess. These are the things when you talk about hiring head coaches and hiring these players. Hiring these head coaches, they ain't got no experience outside of a position. You hired Raheem Morris because he was a good position coach. You hired Raheem Morris because he was one of those guys that you can plug in for a year or two and be the defensive coordinator, but he's one of these guys that if you ask him to build the defense for you and build a foundation for you, he can't do it. He has no experience in building the foundation up. Joseph, what's going on? How you doing, sir? So don't press my buttons, because man, Mike already done told y'all that I'm not qualified to be a head coach. I'm not qualified. But I'm qualified to sit down with legends and have conversations with them. I'm qualified to sit down with people that have been journalists for over 50 years, and Tom Pollin, formerly of Atlanta Sports Unlimited. I can sit down with these guys and hold a conversation. So don't play me. Like I said, don't play me. Coach Unchained was a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. I have a teacher next to me continuously telling me, and I'm asking questions, unlike a guy like Noah E., who think he knows everything. I got a Coach Unchained, okay? And he's a real coach. He's actually done it. He's actually coached guys like True Fun, okay? So anybody that try to pull my card, nah, I got real coaches and real players around me to help me feel knowledge. Can you say that about your? Can you say that about your favorite content creator that's giving you opinions? Can you say that about your favorite content creator? Because it's quite a few of them that's just like me. But the one that y'all like is the one that tell y'all a bunch of bullshit that you want to hear. I'm not here to tell y'all bullshit that y'all want to hear. No, ain't no. I was joking. Nah, don't pull my card. Too many motherfuckers been pulling my card lately, and I ain't in the mood to be having my card pulled. I'm here to tell people the truth and answer people's question the right way. So get the fuck out of here with that. I wouldn't care if they go defense all 5 picks, straighten out. Which we know we are not. So, Dre, like I said, I think we got to understand that the rebuild for this organization is real. Okay, we let Drew Dalman walk. We let Grady Jarrett go. We let him go. We didn't trade Grady Jarrett. We let him go. Just think about that. The rebuild is real. Now, does that mean that the Atlanta Falcons can't win? No, it doesn't. Because you still have quality players. And the way this NFL is designed is offensively. When you have a guy like an offensive line like the Atlanta Falcons have, a guy like Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, now you still have Kirk Cousins on the roster. You have Michael Penix on the roster. You have guys like AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates. And if there's this defensive line, if Jeff Olbrich can get this defensive front in order, this Falcons team can make a run. We saw it with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles they got lucky. They got lucky because they rode the hot hand and they rode that was working. This is right here is what great head coaches do. They didn't rely on their wide receivers all year. They relied on their running game and Saquon Barkley and their offensive line and played solid defense. That's it. That was the recipe. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They had so many injuries with their not only offensive line, their running backs, Pacheco, their number 1 back, out with broken leg, and then you got Rashee Rice out for the year with a torn ACL. Like, these guys relied on the fundamentals of football to get them to a Super Bowl. So when it pertains to Raheem Morris, one of the reasons why I get so frustrated with not only him but this Atlanta Falcons team, you have a strong offensive line, you have a strong running game, you have a strong passing game. You're not even using these guys. When we should have been running this year, we passed the ball way too much to guys like Ray McLeod. And there's no disrespect to Drake London and all these guys, but like when we needed to run the ball, we shouldn't have been throwing the ball as much. And this is why Kirk Cousins, there was a perfect time when Kirk Cousins wasn't playing well and we clearly saw him. We clearly saw Kirk Cousins not himself. But did that head coach and the offensive coordinator say, you know what, Kirk Cousins ain't running well. He's not playing well right now. I don't want to go to the young kid just yet. Let's just ride Tyler Algier. Let's just ride Bijan Robinson. They didn't do that. They continued to throw the ball over and over and over again until they damn near almost got beat by the Raiders. And then they said, you know what? We almost got beat by the Raiders. Let's make a change. We don't need that. We need somebody like Nick Sirianni that's going to go out of his way and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm a passing guy, and yeah, I can do this. But right now, we're winning this way. That's good awareness. And only the most experienced head coaches understand scenarios and situations like that. But this Atlanta Falcons team is not in the position to win now. Okay? They're not in the position to win now. This Atlanta Falcons team is not a Super Bowl team. But they do have the talent to make things happen. They do have the ability to be one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. They do have that ability. Because, again, Kirk Cousins is still on the roster. If Michael Penix, for whatever reason, God forbid, something happened to him, he gets off to a slow start, he gets injured, he got with a sprained ankle or some shit like that, we still got a Kirk Cousins that can come in, manage the game, and we can still make some noise and still be competitive. So we do have that at hand. And right now, the news for the Atlanta Falcons is that they're asking teams to pick up at least $20 million of Kirk Cousins money. So that right there is the truth of the matter. So how you doing, Christy? So with this Atlanta Falcons team, when you have a head coach like Raheem Morris that's still kind of finding his way, and like I said, I'm pissed off. I don't like him. I don't think I don't think he's a good head coach, but there's always room for improvement if he gets the right coaches and staff around him, and he's willing to listen. Now, Raheem, he does connect with players. Players like him. I won't say necessarily love Raheem, but they like him. He does have an ability to bring in certain people in, players in, and free agency. We've seen that. But at the end of the day, Christy, the thing is with this, with with Kirk Cousins, the NFL quarterback is bad. Like, the position is so terrible right now. It is bad. It's really bad. And for instance, when you look at the Giants is a perfect example of this. They went out and signed two veteran quarterbacks. Anybody know who those two veteran quarterbacks are? They went out and signed two veteran quarterbacks. This is how bad it is quarterback-wise. You got a team like Cleveland, Pittsburgh. They still don't know who their quarterback is because Aaron Rodgers. They don't know if they really want to go after Rodgers. So there are teams out there and organizations and these owners that want to win, and $20 million for a single year for a quarterback just for the opportunity to make a run. Like, I think it is likely because this is the quarterback position. They're already giving these guys $60 million for having average years. They just made Lamar Jackson one of the highest paid quarterbacks in NFL history, and this dude can't even get the team to the Super Bowl after he's won two MVPs and had one of his best years in the first years as at quarterback. This is his first time throwing for 4,000 yards and could have easily won another MVP. we're still throwing money at guys that hasn't, like, let's keep it real. Me personally, you got to get me to an NFL. You got to at least get me to an AFC championship, NFC championship, or a Super Bowl for me to be giving you $50 million. A lot of these quarterbacks are getting rewarded for being average and above average and just good. I think personally, this is what's wrong with the NFL, and we got all these players that's holding out and begging for more money is because they haven't earned it. If the NFL allowed these players to, or I want to say allow, but they force these players to earn their money, then Kirk Cousins' situations wouldn't even be the case. Because Kirk Cousins is another one of those guys. I said a long time ago, about 2 years ago, that I wouldn't bring him in here because he hasn't really shown us the ability to win. And look what happened. Started out well, but it ended out in a mess. Every one of these quarterbacks that got paid $50 million a year, the only one that you can say that's been consistent is literally Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I think you can say those two are the main reasons why their teams are consistently winning and putting up points. So I still think if a Joe Flacco out here can get a job, for me, I don't think there's any question that a team would trade for Kirk Cousins. So I wouldn't doubt it. The New Orleans Saints, I mean, the Giants, they signed Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, and both of those guys have put up big numbers. So, like I said, I think there's a chance that these teams are going to, they can trade for a guy like Kirk Cousins. Because if you look at Jameis Winston and Joe Flacco, like these guys signed like an $8 million deal, $7 to $8 million guaranteed, but the contract in itself is based on incentives, and these guys can make up to $20 million. These quarterbacks can make up to $20 and $30 million based on the incentives. So you're going to see a lot more contracts like this, where you see these quarterbacks. You see these quarterbacks making that much, that $10 million guaranteed for a year or two, and the rest of it be in incentives. And like I said, Joe Flacco is a perfect example of what I'm saying here right now. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, these guys are a perfect example of that. So I think there are teams out there, if the Atlanta Falcons would come down maybe $5 to $10 million and say, all right, just give me $15 million for Kirk Cousins. Just take on 15, $15 to $18 million. We'll come down on that just a little bit with Kirk Cousins just to get him off the team. So this is being reported by ESPN that the Atlanta Falcons are asking teams for $20 million for Kirk Cousins. But as it pertains to this offensive line, and one of the reasons why I'm saying this, the rebuild is real. You got a guy that's 33 and you got Caleb McGarry that's 30. Not to say at any given moment that, these guys are going to call it quit. But as a general manager, as a head of scout, and Kyle Smith, like, you have to take that in consideration. Caleb McGarry contract, Jake Matthews contract. Those are starting tackles. Both of them 30 years old. So at some point, whether it's this year or next year, you got to look because Michael Penix, he is the head, he's the guy that we're building around. It ain't Bijan Robinson, it ain't nobody else. We're not building around Drake, we're building around Michael Penix Jr. And a lot of these guys on offense are going to be, well, they are on their last 1 to 2 year deals. So the Falcons at some point got to say, you know what? We just allowed Drew Dalman to just walk. We allowed Drew Dalman to walk for nothing. We allowed Grady Jarrett to walk for nothing. And as a general manager, if you don't want to get fired, you better answer those questions right now. Who's going to replace Drew Dalman? I'm thinking that they believe that Javon Gwynn or Ryan Nuzul, these guys are going to replace him. But what if that doesn't work? The Atlanta Falcons may have to draft a center in this draft, whether it's a first, second, or third. I doubt it's the first, but it could be the second round, third round. If we get one, a third round pick. You got to think about the possibility of Matthew Bergeron being able to move him to left tackle or right tackle because he has that ability. But then again, you're going to have to bring in a guy, if you move Bergeron to tackle, to be that left guard. So as a general manager with a quarterback like Michael Penix, you're going to need to protect him. Quarterbacks need to be protected. So you can't say that what the Atlanta Falcons have, like, just because the defense isn't where we want it, you can't neglect the offense because of Michael Penix. The drafting of Michael Penix pretty much forced the Atlanta Falcons to make decisions offensively that's going to affect the defensive side of the ball. And this is the reason why me and K Styles said from the very beginning, I just don't understand. If you really want to build a defense, why the hell would you draft a quarterback right there? So it was clear to me personally, like this had nothing to do drafting a Michael Penix. They weren't focused on the defense. I know that shit gonna piss a lot of people off, but the Falcons wasn't focused on the defense when they drafted Michael Penix. When they signed Raheem Morris, obviously they brought him as a head coach, but when they signed Kirk Cousins, they weren't thinking about the defense. You had Drake, you had Bijan Robinson, you had Chris Lindstrom, McGarry. They weren't thinking about that. They weren't thinking about the defense. So when you draft another quarterback, I hate to tell y'all, but the Falcons ain't thinking about building no defense. They thinking about bringing in guys that could quite possibly replace Grady Jarrett, and at some point in time, and hoping we can develop these guys that can be the next Grady Jarrett. But if they wanted to build a defense, they would have done so. And he says we need insurance for Kirk Cousins if he didn't work out. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, again, when you sign Kirk Cousins, a guy that was coming off of an Achilles injury, that wasn't a long-term situation. That was short-term. It was a 4-year deal. 2 years for the most part. You can get rid of Kirk Cousins after the second year, which the Atlanta Falcons are already prepping for anyway. But it was a 2-year deal. It wasn't a long-term deal. So the Falcons weren't thinking about, all right, let's just build all our defense. Let's just build a defense. Because, again, Raheem Morris hasn't shown us that he can build or develop anything. He's one of those guys that you bring in as a defensive coordinator that can continue to grow and maintain what you already have. He has the ability to do that. when you talk about developing talent and building a solid foundation and a defense that can be good for 3 years, he hasn't shown us that yet. In fact, if you really want to be honest, Ram defense got better after he left. So do not think that the Atlanta Falcons are not thinking offensive line with this pick coming in the NFL draft. The Falcons have already shown us that if you look at our team and our draft and how we drafted, that they love offense. They're going to make sure when we get in that bench that we're going to have the ability to score a lot of points. They've already shown us. And they're going to bring in coaches like Raheem Morris, like Jeff Ulbrich, Jerry Gray. They're going to put a lot of coaches on the defensive staff to make sure that they can at least develop the guys that we draft on the defensive line. And so far, that plan hasn't worked. But it does not mean whatsoever that Raheem, Jeff Ulbrich, Jerry Gray, all those guys can't get it happen. It just hasn't happened yet. Okay? Me personally, I don't think the Atlanta Falcons are serious in regards to building a defense and drafting defensive linemen in the first round. I don't think it's a bad idea, because if you look at Bill Belichick, he doesn't necessarily draft a lot of defensive guys in the first round like that. He like to get most of his guys. He'll trade down in the draft, get these guys in the lower half of the first round and second round, and he just stocks up because he knows he can develop these guys. So it's not a bad idea with the Atlanta Falcons, because we see it all the time. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're always 20 and below when it comes down to the draft. And these guys have had a solid defense for years with this philosophy. So with the Atlanta Falcons philosophy, the philosophy isn't bad. It's just the coaches that they hire are not good at developing. So do not think that what Arthur Blank, Mr. Blank, is doing with the defense, prioritizing offense over defense, because if you really look at the NFL, the offense runs everything anyway. You can't be successful in this league without a quality and above average quarterback. You can't be successful with a defense that's just good and a top 10 defense every year. Because we've seen teams like Tennessee, they always have good defense, but they can't win because they can't score points. So the philosophy with the Atlanta Falcons isn't bad. It's just the development. The lack of development with our coaches has been the problem. It's not how we prioritize offense over defense. That's not that. Fans do not need to have expectation. I would not be surprised if we trip a kicker, because it's Falcons thing to do. Look, and this is the thing. I don't want people to get so frustrated like we were, like myself, I was when I say and the thing is with the Raheem, with the Michael Penix, I wasn't upset with the Michael Penix pick. I was more upset with the Kirk Cousins signing. It's like, if you're going to take Michael Penix, then why give Kirk Cousins $100 million? You know, at the end of the day, if I'm going to be honest with myself, it was actually a great plan to sign Kirk Cousins. Just so happened it did not work out. It didn't work out. What's up, Jay? What's going on, Jaden? It just didn't work out. Like, I would have thought that Kirk Cousins would be a little bit more, consistent this year, but like for the first 8 or so, 8 to 10 games. I mean, he got a good deal from Kirk Cousins. It looked like it would work out, but how it ended just didn't work out. So it wasn't a bad plan. So, like I said, man, do not be surprised if the Atlanta Falcons go offensive line, wide receiver, trade down. But I think the thing I do personally think the Atlanta Falcons will go edge defensive tackle. I do believe, I think that's number one, that the Falcons will address the defensive line. I do believe that. Okay. But again, do not think it's etched in stone that the Atlanta Falcons are going to draft an edge in a defensive line, a defensive tackle. Do not think it's etched in stone. Raheem Morris and these guys have fooled us. Well, fooled most players, because I kind of knew if Bijan Robinson dropped at 8, that he's one of them talent you cannot pass up. And I love me some Jordan Davis, and I love me some Jalen Carter, but Bijan Robinson has proven that that was the right pick. No, I look. See, the thing is, and let me clarify that, because I know I be joking around. I say a lot of crazy stuff, the off the wall things. But I think for me personally, I think there's a difference with a lot of black athletes, and then there's white athletes. I think, and I'm not saying that a lot of these white athletes are not superior. They're not crazy athletes, because we've seen guys like T.J. Watt, J.J. Watt. Like, these guys are crazy athletes. Okay, the Aiden Hutchinsons of the world. Like, these guys are crazy athletes. But when you have a lot of these black athletes that are 6'7", they can run a 4'4" or 4'5". These guys, for me personally, and this is something that I've heard Coach say. I've heard Chauncey, who's coach himself. A lot of these white athletes, they work harder because they're not as superior, or they're not as good of an athlete as a lot of these black guys. A lot of these black guys, just like, they don't work hard because they just know that they're good athletes. They know they're special athletes. They know they're a special athlete. So they don't work as hard as a Patrick Kearney, a Aiden Hutchinson, a J.J. Watt, a T.J. Watt. They don't work as hard. I've seen that shit. So for me, I want a guy that's going to work hard, even if he is. And me, it's just me. Y'all have a different opinion. But I think white defensive players and white guys on the defensive side of the ball, they work harder and they hustle. They work harder and they hustle. And they hustle. They work harder and they hustle. And I mean, like I said, a guy like the Fox, I think Morgan Fox, he's one of those guys. End up getting 5, 6 sacks this past year. You wouldn't look at him as a superior. That dude had damn near the same numbers as Grady Jarrett. So it's about the work ethic for me. I don't care about guys being superior athletes, because you can get a superior athlete at any position, first, second, and third round. You can get a major athlete. But what sets these football players and the great players away, Tom Brady is a perfect example of this. Matt Ryan is a perfect example of this. These guys weren't superior athletes at quarterback, and somehow they continue to make guys like Michael Vick look stupid because they work harder. They work harder. And I know the NCAA and all these black organizations gonna be looking at Mike saying, Mike, why are you tearing down a black man? Like, I'm not tearing them down. I'm not tearing them down. It's just I've seen white players, they work harder than black people. A black player. Write it down. So me, I want more white defensive players. I want more white linebackers. That's me. I want my defensive linemen to have an attitude. I want them to be offended by me bringing in a bunch of white defensive linemen. I want my players to be offended. Because if I can get a football player emotional and pissed off, the better it'll be. We got way too many of these black athletes that are comfortable because they can run a fucking 4.2. They fast and they catch 100 passes in a fucking year, and then once they get their $100 million, they stop playing. There's way too many examples of black players that have done this bullshit. They get paid and they stop working hard. How we feeling Penix ain't the answer. I mean, there's always a choice. This ain't even a Penix thing. There's always a chance that any draft pick is not gonna work out. But this is what I'm going back to as far as the general manager is concerned. You got to have a plan. Let's say Michael Penix struggles this year. This is why you got to keep building upon the offense, building upon that running game, and constantly have somebody to replace. You can't stop bringing in running backs because we got Bijan and Tyler all year. Because at some point, they may struggle. At some point, your quarterback may struggle, and you're gonna have to adjust your game plan. So if the running game ain't working, rely on Michael Penix. If Michael Penix ain't working, rely on Bijan, Robert, Tyler, RG in the offensive line. So you can't stop. You can't stop because of that. Like that dude 6'6", 450. Look, man, you better goddamn hit on the Stairmaster or some bullshit. So, like I said, I'm gonna do more lives like this, so y'all continue to support your boy here at Mad Mike Sports. But Mad Mike in the morning is going to be in the first game in the NFL. I'm not bringing that back. That's a regular season show. So Mad Mike in the morning, same time around this time. Mad Mike in the morning. We got OG Sam with his show coming up real soon today. That's what I'm talking about, Chrissy. Look, that's this girl. You preaching to the choir right now. Get one of those big old country boys that wrestle alligators and run cows and more. Girl, look. My mama is from Alabama. Okay, she from Alabama. My family, my mom's side of the family from Alabama. We some country folks. Okay, country. Yeah, I'm a city boy and I'm born in Atlanta, but you know, in the summer, she took my ass to go to Alabama and get some goddamn, you know, get some discipline. Go out there and rain chicken necks and farm all that shit. I did all that shit growing up. Going to my great aunt's house, going to her hometown, Lafayette, Alabama, Chambers County. Okay. The great Joe Louis home. Like this is the stuff that we talking about. So like me, I want them big country boys that ready to get down. So girl, you better preach, goddamn it. So Floyd, Dre, Murphy, I appreciate you. Vlad, like I said, man, y'all stay tuned. We gonna have the originators. That's coming on. Don't know the topic right now, but like I said, if y'all have any ideas on what the topic that we want to have right now, just hit me up. Hit the end of this, the comment. Put the comment at the end of this live or in any video. I will see it. I promise you, I'll see it. So y'all kind of give us some ideas in regards to the live show today. Anything y'all want to talk about. But like I said, man, continue to support your boy here, man. Mike Sports. All right. Mad Mike membership. I'm going to put a lot of videos, okay? I'm gonna put a lot of videos, and there's gonna be exclusive videos and breakdowns certain players, even in college. Okay, so it's only $199. All right, $199 a month. The membership here at Mad Mike Sports. So, so far I think we got like 15 people that are members of the Mad Mike membership, including the great Christy, who is an amazing not only friend but a creator herself. She gets on the Ladybirds. I love what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love what the Ladybirds are doing. Auntie Pam, Miss Maggie. Um, um, Look, man, y'all gotta support those ladies. All right? They don't get a lot of love and a lot of attention they deserve, in my opinion. But we gonna continue to support them, and we're gonna continue to make sure that they get the respect that they need, because these ladies are smart. They more loyal than a lot of y'all fans. Okay, a lot more loyal than a lot of y'all people. So, like I said, continue to support this boy at Mad Mike Sports. All right, all love, and that's all I got to say about that. All right, the real deal Holyfield right over here. Mad Mike Sports, Atlanta Falcons Nation, the Unholy Alliance, Jew Talk Sports, and that's the bottom line, because Mad Mike said so.
I told y'all, Mad Mike told you,